Subscribe with iTunes, Audio Boom, Stitcher, or your favorite podcasting app. And if you enjoy what you hear, like us on Facebook. Also, consider throwing a little cash our way by visiting patreon.com/KoreaFM. And find more of our great content on our home on the web, KoreaFM.net. Korea's National Police Agency is conducting a nationwide survey to gather opinions on how to punish drunk drivers and if the country's blood alcohol standard for drunk driving should be lowered from 0.05% to 0.03. Such changes in other countries have led to a decrease in road fatalities, and I spoke with an expert based in Asia to learn more on the issue.
My name is Jonathon Passmore. I'm the technical lead for violence and injury prevention. I work in the Western Pacific region of the World Health Organization, supporting member states in all aspects of violence and injury prevention, including road safety and the prevention of drinking and driving. The reduction of drink driving levels is an extremely effective intervention for road safety. Japan introduced a similar reduction in 2002. They reduced their blood alcohol concentration from 0.05 to 0.03. And by 2004, within only 2 years, they'd seen a 38% reduction in their number of alcohol-associated fatal crashes. Similarly, Chile in South America, there's another country that reduced their limit similarly and saw an 18% reduction in their alcohol-associated crashes. But how countries go about that process in terms of the mechanism of public consultation is up to the population. In a lot of countries like Australia, for example, where I'm from, they have done surveys on how antisocial, for example, drinking and driving is. And they found on several occasions that drinking and driving is seen to be one of the most publicly antisocial behaviours that society can engage in, particularly, I think, because of the very high risk of consequence to others and not just the drivers themselves.
While lower blood alcohol levels have been shown to decrease traffic deaths, not drinking at all remains the safest option.
The only safe BAC level when it comes to operating a vehicle is 0. So that's certainly our recommendation. But the metabolism of alcohol is very much related to individual factors, such as whether or not they've consumed alcohol in conjunction with food, for example. This speeds up the metabolism of alcohol. But in terms of sort of the sort of figures that we have based on what the research says is that the body can metabolize about 1 standard drink per hour. That's for a man. For a woman, it's about 0.7 of a standard drink per hour. And by standard drink, from the majority of countries, a standard drink is about 10 grams of alcohol. 1 standard drink per hour, that would keep a driver under a level of 0.05. But again, stressing the fact that these are influenced by individual factors, by age, by sex, by whether they've had dinner before they're drinking, how frequently they drink, for example. All of these are individual factors which influence the metabolism. And so that's why we very much reiterate that the only safe level is no drinking at all. If you're going to drink, you don't drive. And if you're going to drive, you don't drink.
But while many factors need to be taken into consideration when discussing how alcohol will affect each individual driver, generalizations can be made, and certain groups are more affected than others.
My name is Lieshout, and I'm the Executive Director of Yours Youth Road Safety. Yours Youth Road Safety is a global youth-led NGO working basically to make the roads safer for young people worldwide, where we try to inspire and connect young people all over the world to take action and to keep their peers safe and to act as role models. Young drivers, they're less experienced and they take, in general, more risks, especially young males. So young drivers are more at risk on the roads. Road traffic crashes is the leading killer of young people worldwide. So obviously young people are more at risk. And one of the things that you can do to protect these young people is to have what we call in our road safety terminology a safe system approach. And the best practice guidelines from the World Health Organization, who's doing a lot of research on this, right? They say that for experienced drivers, you should set BAC level of 0.05. And for novice drivers, they recommend a 0.02. And apparently, only 34 countries in the world apply to these guidelines. So there's still a lot of work to do, and I think it would be a very good first step for South Korea to lower the BAC levels for the entire population or for novice drivers to 0.03 or even to 0.02.
And while Korea may be moving in the right direction, WHO violence and injury prevention expert Jonathon Passmore says Korea could do even more.
The notion that legislation in Korea will could be reduced even further is extremely positive and extremely encouraging. One thing that we also need to talk about when it comes to the effectiveness of legislation is the enforcement. You know, in the absence of enforcement, legislation is just a piece of paper. So for legislation to achieve its injury prevention objective, it really must be stringently enforced. And one of the most effective mechanisms for drink driving is what we call random breath testing, or mandatory breath testing is another way that it's described. And this is also something that Korea doesn't currently have in its legislation, as opposed to a country like Japan or Australia or New Zealand, for example, where it does. Under random breath testing, police have the ability to stop and test any driver. And this has been shown to be extremely effective. In Australia, it was shown to reduce alcohol-associated crashes by more than 30%. This is something that could possibly be considered also in Korea as part of this overall legislation change that's being considered.
For KoreaFM.net, I'm Chance Dorland.
Talk radio, music, and podcasts from the Korean Peninsula. KoreaFM.net.